what's going on, everybody? I'm back, which is cool. I like being back. I'm just pulling up some stuff real quick so I can monitor both chats, which is pretty cool. I like monitoring chats. Chats are fun to monitor. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're both on YouTube and Twitch, obviously. Let's not live chat that. There we go. Obviously, I'm back from Kansas City. Had a good time. Did a whole little video on it. It was a wonderful event. We need to make sure we are letting folks know we're live. I will get to it. Hopefully, people just drop in. I would rather just get started. Let me make sure I've got audio. Do I have audio? Let's find out. Do I? You silly goose. Yeah, it's yep, I do. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Been a while since I streamed, so I wanted to make sure everything was looking right. If you're on Twitch right now, say hi to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, say hi to Twitch. I like getting that kind of cross-platform communication going, so that's pretty neat. Today, Games Workshop released some chaos indices, whatever you want to call them. We're going to dive through them a little bit. If there's one specifically you want to dive into, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to just start with Chaos Space Marines, and then we'll kind of see how things go from there. I don't play Chaos anymore. I did have a Chaos Army when I ran my store. Obviously, I had a little bit of everything, but Chaos is fun. You know, I've got a lot of friends that play Chaos. It's real popular in our region. All manners of power armor are popular in our region. So it's one of those where there's a big chaos community here. Whether it's Marines, whether it's demons, doesn't matter. There's a large chaos community here. So without further ado, let's dig in. That's demons. Oh no. Woo! Scroll back up here. Let's zoom it in so everybody can see. Everybody can see this. Uh, and they already released some of this in the faction focus, and that's fine. We'll probably go over it again. If your army faction is Heretic Astartes, each time a unit with this ability is selected to shoot or fight, it can make a Dark Pact. If it does, select one of the following abilities for that unit's weapons to gain until the end of the phase. So you can make a Dark Pact, you can give it lethal hits, or you can give it sustained hits until the end of the phase, and that is per unit. Lethal hits, I did a video on this actually, it just went up today. Lethal hits is your critical hits are auto wounding. And again, critical hits are defined as unmodified sixes, but there are rules that will cause it to pop on like fives or something. Sustained hits is your critical hits count as additional hits equal to the number. So a critical hit could be, in this instance, each hit would count as 2 hits because you'd have your 6 and then your sustained hit. Each time a unit makes a Dark Pact, after it has resolved its attacks, make a leadership test, which is just 2 dice against your leadership or battle. It's basically a battle shock test. If it's failed, you suffer D3 mortal wounds. So I like this rule, and I know some chaos players are like, this is stupid. I could take damage for my army rule, but it's one of those where I like it. It's flavorful. It's fun. Is it good? It has the potential to be very good. Obviously, if you just have bad dice, you're gonna kill your own models. Um, but as an orc player, like that's an interaction I had been used to for a long time up until the last 1 or 2 editions. So sorry for you. Let's see. The Lost and the Damned. Some traitors have given themselves entirely to the service of the dark gods. I'm not going to read the whole thing like that. And they are also lost to damnation that they barely resemble the warriors they once were. If your army faction is Heretic Astartes, you can include any of the following units in your army, and when you do so, their faction keywords are replaced with Heretic Astartes. And this is just letting you know that you can take Berserkers, you can take Rubrics, you can take Plague Marines, right? The combined points value of such units you can include into your army depends on the battle size, such as follows. So if you're Heretic Astartes, you can take 500 points of Rubrics, Khorne, Berserkers, Plague Marines combined, not each. Slaves to Darkness is the detachment, so you get your army rule, which is the Dark Packs, and then all the indexes only have one detachment, and unless you're Space Marines, right? Because then they have all their little sub chapters, and then they get their sub detachments. Like you could take a Death Watch detachment, or you could take a Space Wolves detachment. So unless you're Space Marines, you only get one detachment to start with. If your army faction is Heretic Astartes, you can use this Slaves to Darkness detachment rule. When mustering your army, each time you select a Heretic Astartes unit to include in your army, if that unit is not an epic hero and does not already have one or more of the keywords listed below, you must select one of the keywords listed below for that unit to gain. Blah 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 blah. So basically, every time you take a unit that isn't a named character effectively, if it doesn't already have a chaos keyword, you have to give it a chaos keyword. And then once you give it a chaos keyword, each time a unit with one of those keywords makes a dark pact, it also gains the associated ability below until the end of the phase. In the fight, each time a unit with this, it gains the associated ability below to the end of the phase, but it doesn't say you lose this one. So I would assume you get both. So Blood Fury in the fight phase, if this unit's weapons gained the lethal hits ability this phase as the result of a Dark Pact, yep, so you'll get both. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, you crit on a 5+. So Khorne, right, if you give them lethal hits from your Dark Pact, their criticals proc it on a 5+. And it's funny because we were just like literally opened the video talking about this exact interaction. So that's awesome. Tzeentch, you get Warp Fire in the shooting phase if you gained lethal hits. So it's the same thing as Khorne, just in the shooting phase, which again has the potential to be very powerful. Nurgle, you get to get down with the sickness. Hey, what's up, Dan? Sorry, I was not monitoring my chat very well. Thanks for joining. We're just talking some chaos right now, looking at the Chaos Marines. We're going to go over the Army rules, probably touch on a few of the more common data sheets, and then maybe jump over to Demons, because there's a few Demons I want to look at. So, Nurgle, we're getting down with the sickness in the shooting phase. If this unit gains sustained hits, then it crits on a 5, and then Slaanesh, if you take sustained hits, then it crits on. Okay, so it's literally two of them. You've got one that does shooting, lethal hits, criticals on 5, one that does melee, critical hits, lethal hits on 5, and then you've got shooting sustained hits, crits on 5, and then melee sustained hits, crits on 5. So it's very, very symmetrical in that regard. Glory to Chaos. If you go undivided, you just reroll hit rolls of 1. Also really good. So if you do a Dark Pact and you're undivided, you just reroll your own hit rolls of 1. Because there's less hit rolls or rerolls in the game, right? Definitely less rerolls in the game. It makes me laugh. You cannot select the Khorne keyword for a Psyker unit to gain, and a character with the leader ability can only be attached to a bodyguard unit if both of those units share one of the same keywords from the list. Okay, so you can't put a Khorne Demon Prince or maybe not Demon Prince, but you can't put a Khorne Chaos Lord into a Nurgle or even an undivided unit because you have to share at least one of the keywords. Let's take a look at some of these stratagems. Let's go. Who that is? Oh, I better turn up my brightness. I cannot see very well on the chat. There we go. Now I can. That's so vivid and bright. Hey, what's up? Does that say Sentinel Entorn? I hope I'm reading that right. Um, I've got like 5 screens in front of me so I can try to monitor everything at once. Why does that still say top chat? That should say live chat, you silly goose. There we go. Awesome, awesome. So we're going to take a look at the Slaves to Darkness stratagems. Let's see. Infernal Rites. You use it in your opponent's shooting or fight phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets. So I will say that I very much appreciate the way the stratagems are worded. Yeah, that's right. I'm so bright, my daddy calls me son. Uh, that's my dad joke for the day. Yeah. I do appreciate how well the stratagems are worded and laid out. I like that they tell you exactly when you use them, who gets to use them, and what their effects are. This is such an amazing format for stratagems compared to how it was before. One Heretic Astartes unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. The effect is until the end of your phase, you worsen the AP of that attack by 1. That's pretty spicy, and I can see why it's 2 command points. It makes sense. It is going to go a long way, and a lot of the things that I've seen, with a few exceptions, have had AP reduced so far. As an orc player, like the few guns they released on the faction focus all had lower AP, which kind of stings because we didn't have a ton of AP in that book anyway, especially in shooting. But it is pretty much been game wide for the most part, so I can't complain too much. So this will even help you a little bit more in staying alive. Let's go to Eternal Hate next. You use it in the fight phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One Heretic Astartes unit, blah, 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 blah. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought, roll a d6. On a 4 up, it fights on death. On a 3 up, it fights on death if it's Khorne. So interestingly, like I've seen this stratagem a few times now. That was one of the ones that was revealed in the Orc faction focus. Um, there's this one here. I think World Eaters also might have it. I'd have to double check because I don't know if World Eaters get both the way Space Marines do. I have not looked at any of the sub factions for Chaos yet. But Fight on Death, pretty solid. Makes sense. The Orc one's 2 CP, just saying. Not that I'm salty. Uh, actually, I think it's automatic with the orcs though. When you're shooting phase, and it is not actually. So note that this is not restricted to infantry either. Profane Zeal. When you're shooting phase or fight phase, selected shooter fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1, reroll a wound roll of 1. If you're Chaos Undivided, you just have full rerolls. So again, man, really strong. A lot of rerolls in this edition, in which we were told there would be less rerolls, and so that's an interesting interaction. It's they're not auras anymore; they're just baked into data sheets for the most part. But it's just kind of curious when there was definite talk of there being less rerolls, and it just feels like a lot of things still have them. And maybe they're just spread out a little bit more because we lost that kind of core mechanic. So maybe they're just a little bit more spread out, so it just seems like there's more. All right, and that was blah, 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 blah. It feels like that, It really does. Uh, and I haven't seen everything, obviously, but it just seems like there's a lot of rerolls in this edition. Uh, and again, I don't know. I'm a person who likes to do a lot of tournaments, and I just feel like, man, there's going to be a lot of efficient dice, right? I am. Am I hearing this? Yeah. There we go. All right. So, skin shift. That's disgusting. You use it in your command phase. One Heretic Astartes unit from your army. One model. Yeah, so it's interesting. I got to play a few games at 10th, but it was very limited. It was with just like troops and a couple characters. And using those few units that we used, it wasn't as prevalent. But I think once you start getting into actual army building, everybody is just going to be bringing, especially if you're in power armor, right? Everything is just going to be hitting on twos, re-rolling everywhere, and it's going to be really weird. One model in your unit regains up to 3 lost wounds. In addition, if your unit is Zinch unit below its starting strength, one destroyed model, excluding characters, is returned to your unit with full wounds remaining. So this is just a heal and a replace. Pretty solid. You only replace if it's a Zinch unit. So there are reasons to at least take some of these other Chaos Gods, which I appreciate because I didn't see a lot of, like in the ninth edition Codex, there wasn't a lot of Nurgle being used, and a lot of that had to do with the Mark of Nurgle just being super weird. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, what is this? Dark Obscuration. Until the end of the phase, your unit has a stealth ability, which is just -1 to hit. And actually, let me see something real quick. I have not. We're going to pull it up over here. Let's find stealth. I always keep this up because I'm a nerd. Boop. Well, that's not helpful. Page 20. Well, let's look at page 20. Stealth. Okay, so it's only -1 against ranged attacks. I hadn't verified that yet. I kind of assumed that's how it would interact, but I wanted to make sure. And stealth is just a -1 against ranged attacks. I knew it was -1. Yes, yes. But again, Zinch was always like one of these. Well, let me rephrase. In ninth and I don't remember a lot of eighth at this point, but I feel like eighth and ninth, like Zinch was one of the stronger chaos marks and units you could take. Like the rubric flamers were always good. Um, Screamers, obviously you're not going to be, because this is for Marines, this isn't for demons. And it specifically says Heretic Astartes, but like a rubric flamer squad could get pretty nasty with that interaction, as well as a few other things. Depending on how Havocs interact, it could be pretty nasty on Havocs as well. That's one of the units I wanted to dig into. In addition, Nurgle unit, you can only be selected. Okay, so basically you can give a Nurgle unit lone operative and stealth, or if it's not Nurgle, you just get stealth. Again, pretty solid. I like that. That's a good strat. And I do appreciate that each strat has a trigger and a trigger, right? So we see any unit gets this, but if it has this mark, it also gets that. Like, I think that's a very good interaction for this army. And I think going back to what you said, I think the Flamers still have to roll hit rolls. I don't think they have Torrent, but we will find out. They could have Torrent, and I could be on crack. Like we'll figure it out in a minute. One unit from the Heretic is until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. In addition, if it's Slanesh, you can advance. Oh my gosh, that's really good. You can fall back, shoot, and charge. And if you're Slanesh, you can advance, shoot, and charge. So that is really good. And that is going to give your unit some mobility if they're Slanesh that was really hard to get, even in ninth. Like, yeah, you had the Dark Apostle ritual that could give you advance and charge, but you had to have really good positioning. Being able to just point at a Slanesh unit and be like advance and charge is very good. And because it's just unit, you can give it. Oh, good. Thank you for checking on that. Like I said, that was the next one I wanted to dive into was the demons, and then we would kind of see where the wind takes us. But thank you. So the Flamers do have Torrent. Are they? I assume. Well, we'll get into it. I was gonna say I assume they got their AP reduced though. But Slanesh unit. Ba, 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 ba. Enhancements. So these are all the strats, right? And this is what GW has said. You know, like we're gonna try and reduce the number of strats unless you're a Space Marine, because then you get like 4 pages of strats. And then not that I dislike Space Marines, but I don't like Space Marines. Talisman of Burning Blood. Heretic Astartes Corn model only. Add 1 to the attack and strength. Very corn. Each time bear until the end of phase. Oh, so Talisman Burning Blood's pretty cool. You put it on a character, they get +1 strength, +1 attack, and then if you do a Dark Pact, they get to add D3 attacks and strength instead. Could be pretty spicy on like a Corn Demon Prince going out, because I've looked at the Demon Prince already, and those things will hit like a truck, it looks like. Could be wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Eye of Zinch, yep. Each time model makes a Dark Pack, take a leadership test for the bearer. If that test is passed, you gain a command point. That could also be really good. Being able to just get extra command points, because if I remember right, you start with 0 this edition. We'll have to double check that. In fact, let's do it right now. I've dug through so much of this core book, and there's a few things that I just haven't looked at. Boop, 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 boop. It's probably not here. Boop. Command phase. Oh, you know what? I bet it's in like the let's start with we'll come back to it. I'm pretty sure it's 0. I don't need to spend or waste too much time looking for it. So gaining an extra one, pretty good. I don't know what the Eye of Zinch, like I don't know how Zinch would benefit characters. Was it? Was I right at it? In the yellow. At the start of your command phase, before doing anything, both players gain 1 CP. Command points are blah 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 blah. Yep. Yep. I'm just gaining outside of yeah. I knew you could only gain 1 per battle round. Battle shock units. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, pretty sure started 0. Let's see. Orbs of Unlife. Nurgle in the fight phase rolled 1d6 for every enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer, adding 1 to the result. Okay, so that just does mortal wounds. Big deal. Everything seems to do mortal wounds so far this edition. We're verging into AOS territory. Heretic Astartes Slanesh model only. The bearer has a Feel No Pain 5+ ability each time the bearer shoots or fights. You can force battle shock tests, so that's pretty solid with the intoxicating elixir. You can turn off somebody's OC unless you're Dark Angels, right? Because they just get better if they fail battle shock, if I remember right. That's what my buddy was telling me. I've got a Dark Angels buddy who was telling me about that. And then this handsome dude right here, each time the Bears unit makes a Dark Pack, it gains the lethal hits and sustained hits ability instead of 1. Pretty good. I would definitely consider that. So while we're looking at these enhancements, okay, there's some things that we need to discuss. And I did a video on this talking about how leader interacts. You put this Liber Hereticus on a character model, right? But when the character model goes into a unit, it gets attached to the unit. They become one unit for all intents and purposes, with the exception of rules that pop on death. right? Like a fight on death or gaining victory points because the unit is destroyed type of thing. So when you put that Hereticus on a character and then put that character in a unit, because it says that unit's weapons, then the whole unit gets it. Whether you give it to a unit of Terminators or whatever doesn't matter. The whole unit will get it. The character and his bodyguard unit, they all will get it. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. Like some of these that at first glance you're just like, yeah, whatever. Realize you're giving it to the whole unit, not just to one model. As long as it has that bodyguard unit. All right. I think we saw Yabba Dabba Don already. That was the release, right? The faction focus. There we go. He is, he's T5. He's a Terminator. The one thing we didn't see is what can he attach to, and he can attach to Legionaries and Terminators. And that's what I kind of assumed was going to be his interaction, was it would be Terminators and then a troop unit, right? And that makes sense. Harkin World Claimer. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know like my Chaos lore super well. So Harkin World Claimer is just a dude, right? That's who he is to me. He does have assault sustained hits D3 on his spear. That's right, Yabba Dabba Don, son. Just shouting out the the YouTube chat now. So his Hell Spear's 12 inches, strength 8, -3, 3 damage with sustained hits D3, but it's a single attack. So, like, it could get a little silly, but it's probably not going to. Now, in melee, on the other hand, he gets 6 attacks with the Talon, and it is strength 5, -2, 2 damage, and then 1 extra attack with the Spear, which has Lance, sustained hits, and D3. Sustained hits D3, so it's the same interaction as the shooting. You know, it's a single attack, could generate more. His Talon does have precision, so he could wreak havoc on some characters. And while he's leading a unit, each time his model's unit ends a charge move, select one enemy unit with an engagement range. It's just some mortal wounds. While the enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model in the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if that enemy unit is below its starting strength, it must make a battle shock test. Okay. You cannot use this to cause 2 battle shocks. All right. And then he can just go into a unit of raptors, which makes sense. Like I'm looking at the model here, and that makes perfect sense. And that's very clearly a resin model because I can see the angle of that spear. It might be metal, but this thing looks old. All right. Huron Blackheart. I do know him. Let's go. Tyrant's Claw. D6 attacks. Strength 6 -1, 1 damage. It's a flamer. And then he's got his exalted weapon. It gets 6 attacks. Weapon skill 2, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. Or he's got the claw for 10, 4, 2, 1. So he's got a couple of good tools in his toolbox. While this model is so he can kill Marines or he can kill elves, right? We're about killing elves. That's what people tell me. A little rude if you ask me. While this model is leading a unit, add 1 to the OC. So that's also really good. And he's a Red Corsair, so after both players have deployed their army, you can set up 3 Heretic Astartes infantry units from your army and redeploy them. Okay, so he's got to redeploy, and they can go into reserves. And then once per battle, normal move, advance. Cool. So he's got like a little psychic move right here, which is actually pretty neat. When an enemy unit ends a normal move, advance, or fallback move within 9, then you can make a normal move of D6 inches. And is he plastic? Oh my gosh, why is that so crooked, man? That one right there just got left in somebody's back car, right? The back window of their car a little too long, and it was a little warped. uh, anytime you can interact, gotcha. Anytime you can, God dang, it's that new too. So it's just, I hope it's just this specific model, or maybe it's just the camera angle or whatever that makes it look like this, because that thing looks a little spoopy. Anytime you get to interact in your opponent's turn, it's definitely a good ability, right? So if you get to move d6 inches, that's better than moving no inches. So that's a solid interaction that you have there. And then he can go with Chosen or Legionaries. Now the Demon Prince was one I'd already seen. Gotcha. So it's just this specific model or the camera angle or something. Okay. I appreciate the heads up on that. I'm over here dogging on a brand new model, dude. Heretic Astartes Demon Prince. This is actually a pretty cool, like the data sheet I like. It's solid. It moves 8 inches. It's T10. It's got a 2 plus save, 10 wounds. So he's pretty thick, right? Leadership 6. He's got 3 OC. All the Demon Princes, whether they're wings or not, just have the Infernal Cannon, which is just 3 shots, hitting on 2, strength 5, neg 1, 2 damage. Right, yeah, I got back the Infernal Bolter, exactly. It's no longer an option that was removed and then given back and then removed. And then he's got 2 profiles. You can either do the strike or the sweep. There's no difference between the sword, the axe, and the claw right now, and I think it's just because we're on index, so it's just like, here's a generic attack profile. That is 6 attacks for the strike, and then it's 8, 2, 3, so that's like the sword profile if I remember right. But good gravy, the sweep is 14 attacks. It is 0 AP, but it is so many dice. Uh, so if you give him the Demon Prince of Corn, he gets to add 2 to his strength. So this becomes strength 10. And then the Dark Pact, what was it? Added. No, there was a relic that added 1 to his strength and his attacks, if I remember right. But then when you do a Dark Pact, it adds a D3 instead. So you could actually get this guy strength 11, 12, or 13. And then he gets 1, 2, or 3 bonus attacks. So he could be a pretty massive beat stick. Like, he will do the poopy duty. And then let's see, Demon Prince of Zinch, 3 to the attacks characteristic of its Infernal Cannon. So getting 6 shots with that is also pretty solid. Like, it'll definitely clear out a lot of infantry, especially hitting on 2s. And then Nurgle gets to add 1 to its toughness characteristic. I haven't played enough with bigger vehicles and monsters yet to understand whether or not T10 to T11 is going to be a good jump. It won't matter to anything strength 6, right? Strength 6 and weaker. Really strength 5 and weaker. But I think 6 also, because you need 12 to push 6 to 6s. But I don't know where a lot of the anti-tank weapons and like high toughness weapons are going to sit. And there's so many of them that just have like anti-vehicle that are strength 8 anti-vehicle. So I don't know, again, I don't have enough experience yet to comment on whether or not I feel Nurgle will be good because I don't know. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Nick? Welcome to the chat, buddy. Uh, and I agree. Based on the limited amount of information I've seen and the limited interaction, I feel like T10 to 11 is going to be like jumping. It's not going to be as relevant as like maybe 12 to 13 might be, or even 7 to 8 is still a pretty big jump. Slanesh, you get to add 2 to your movement characteristic, which is also really good because again, there's that advance and charge strat. I agree, 9 to 10, and most even numbers are a big jump, and most odd numbers aren't as important because of pushing things to 6s. Uh, but yeah, adding 2 inches to the movement characteristic, pretty spicy. Again, you've got the advance and charge strat. It'll push the non-winged version to 10-inch movement. Not a bad thing. Anything that improves your mobility is going to be good for the most part. He's got a Dark Blessing. While a Heretic Astartes infantry unit is within 6 inches of it, each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model in that unit, it gains the benefit of cover. So that's pretty solid, being able to just have an aura of here's some cover. And then each time it shoots or fights, you can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound roll, like 1 each, not wounds of 1. He does have Deadly Demise. And then, interesting. So he doesn't have Lone Operative. And he doesn't go in a unit. So you're going to want to be careful with your Demon Princes, folks. Because there's a lot of guns out there that are going to do the stanky leg on him if you're not careful, right? They're gonna be shooting him off the table. I'm just scrolling back and forth to make sure I didn't miss it, but I don't see Lone Operative. I don't see it anywhere here. This isn't where it would be, but I want to make sure I'm not just missing it. And then it's 1 Demon Prince. He can't go in anything, and there's no Lone Operative. So just keep in mind, if you take Demon Princes, they are not hiding unless you are good at using your terrain. The Winged Demon Prince, I'm not going to dig through the whole thing. The main thing to know is that it's 12-inch base movement, so you can move 14 with the Slanesh keyword. And then when he ends a charge move, select 1 enemy unit with an engagement rate. Mortal wounds, cool. Yep. Each time this model ends a normal or advanced move, select 1 enemy unit that it moved over and force a battle shock. So that's pretty cool. Being able to just kind of fly over things and battle shock them is worth. He's got Deep Strike, Deadly Demise, D3, and again, no Lone Operative. So, um, you're going to want to be careful with these Demon Princes. You're not going to be able to hide them and screen them like you used to could, as the kids say. They don't say that, actually. We're not going to look at Fabulous Bill. We're going to try and jump through some of these characters. Let's actually take a look at the Master of Possessions. That's a pretty cool model, and he's traditionally had solid rules. And I'm curious to see how they are treating him with the change of Psychers. He does have an 8-inch movement. T4, 4 wounds, 1 OC. He's got his little blicky. It's just a bolt pistol. Right of possession. So you pick one of the 2 profiles, and it's Witchfire, Anti-Psyker 2+, Pistol, Precision, Psychic. Which, okay, that's all fine. It's Strength 4, Neg 3, 2 damage. So you've got a 18-inch range pistol that can snipe characters. And if it's a Psyker, it'll automatically wound them on 2+. And then you've got an 18-inch hazardous pistol. So if you do, okay, so it's Strength 6. So it's Strength 6, so it's almost like you're supercharging it. You supercharge it, and it's Strength 6, Neg 3, 3 damage. If you don't supercharge it, it's Strength 4, Neg 3, 2 damage. So it's not terrible. It is 2 shots, so again, not terrible. You can give him lethal hits or sustained hits, so you could get those 6s exploding, for example, if you wanted to. He's got his little bonking stick, which is also anti-psyker, and then it's 4 attack, strength 6, neg 1, d3, so he actually went down in strength, which is interesting. He's a leader. He's got that, man, yeah, we're not going to go back. Leader, Dark Packs. While this model is leading a unit, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for that unit. And they get a 6-up. Feel no pain. Very solid. I like it. Would be tempted to slap Slanesh on him and put him in a Slanesh unit. Giving them +1 advance, +1 in charge. Being able to advance and charge. Very good mobility, right? And again, that's how I would kind of... Yeah! It's too good. That way, when you get that T-Suns matchup, you can do the work, buddy. Hitting those Grey Knights. Once per phase, when this model... I mean, to be fair, it is a solid weapon profile without the anti-psyker, but I get what you're saying. At least it doesn't have devastating wounds. So they're weird in general. Like, I get what you're saying, but again, they're weird in general. I just feel like the way the psychic stuff was handled is... I'm mixed on it. I understand why it got turned into just extra attacks. To kind of speed up gameplay, especially when certain armies just had like 30-minute psychic phases. So again, I understand it, but at the same time, I just feel like it kind of detracts from some of the flavor And that's my approach to it. Like I get what you're saying about like so many things having anti-psyker, but I just feel like it also just kind of detracts from the flavor. And then he's got a dagger, so he can shiv somebody, and then they take a mortal wound, and then he can add one to the hit and the wound roll for his psychic attacks. And he can go into Chosen, Legionnaires, and Possessed. So actually, I think that's what we're going to do right now, is we're going to just look at... I've already looked at Legionnaires. Let's look at Chosen. I like Chosen. That was probably not my smartest move. Let's just jump down here. There's so many characters. Yeah, I have noticed that, like, because of how like Space Marines interact, the librarians just giving units like 4+ feel no pains against them, right? Like stuff like that. I haven't looked at Terminators, so we're gonna stop and look at Terminators on the way. All right. Chaos Terminator Squad. They're T5, 3 wounds, 2 up save, so everything looks pretty normal. They have a 4 up invulnerable save. They got a combi bolter. It's rapid fire 2. I'm curious. Yes, it is. The combi weapon is basically just a mortal wound gun against infantry. You get 1 attack, but within 12 inches, you'll get 1 additional attack. And again, it's just a mortal wound gun. Not a huge fan of how that interacts. Oh well. Black Templar can have army-wide anti-psyker and 4+ feel no pain. And again, like it is Black Templar, so I feel like that's fair. Those Sisters of Battle will probably also have a similar interaction somewhere as well. I'm looking forward to that index tomorrow because I am Orcs first, Drukhari second, but I do dabble in the Sisters of Battle. They are a fun army for me to put on the table every once in a while. Anti-infantry 4+, devastating wounds, rapid fire, mortal wound gun. Also those Sisters of Silence, although I would not want to build a whole Sisters of Silence army. That is entirely too many of the same data sheet for me. But Sisters of Battle have, well, they used to have on a 6, you just auto-denied a Psyker, so I'm just kind of curious to see how that goes. Heavy Flamer, ignores cover turret, oh look, more devastating wounds on the Reaper autocannon. What? That's crazy. Let's see. Accursed Weapon, Strength 5, Neg 2, so that went down in AP. We all knew the Chain Fists and the Power Fists went down. And a pair of Accursed Weapons is just twin linked. Okay. Okay. So these look like they honestly haven't changed a ton. For every 5 models in the unit, 1 combi bolter can be replaced with the following: an autocannon and a flamer. Oh, excuse me. Any number of models can each have their combi bolter replaced with 1 combi weapon. Any number. So you could literally just have your whole squad just shoot mortal wounds into infantry. Yeah, okay. Seems reasonable. Combi bolter and a cursed weapon play paired. Okay, so you can drop your gun and your cursed weapon to pick up paired cursed weapons. For every 5 models, 3 can have. So you can take 3 power fists and 1 chain fist. Okay, that checks out. I haven't looked at any of the Loyalist stuff outside of Deathwatch because my inbox was just like a whole mess of Deathwatch. Like, oh my gosh, have you seen this Deathwatch? This is terrible. This is horrible. How could they do this? It does so many mortal wounds. And it does. It like don't get me wrong. I don't disagree. Like it's a not good interaction for the game in my opinion. But also we don't have some context. Like I don't know if you've seen it, but there was like 70 to 90 mortal wounds that the Terminators could put out. And really like we don't know how many points it is. And so for that list to be viable, you're spending at least, if I had to guess, and I don't know, so please don't run and tell people I said this. I don't know, but if I had to guess, that's going to be at least 1,100 points of your army just to get that many Terminators to do that one specific list that that one dude had posted. That's what I've heard. I've heard some mixed stuff on Space Wolves, but I've heard that they got hosed pretty good, but I've heard that they just kind of got toned down, like late, and not that they needed or they didn't need it, but like late ninth edition Space Wolves was a little rough after that last data slate to play against. So it's one of those where, once they get rules, I'm sure they'll be right back where they were. Possess moving 9, T6. Good lord. Them boys is thick. 3 wounds. They get dark packs, hideous mutations. So those went down in AP. Again, not surprised. Each time this unit makes a dark pack. Oh, look! More devastating wounds. That's so crazy. Wow. Each time makes a leadership test. You can re-roll it. So they can re-roll their dark pact. And they can get a chaos icon, hideous mutations. Okay, so chosen. These guys I loved, right? When I had my chaos army, I ran a lot of chosen. They are super cool. Not so much now, but let's see. T4, there's still 3 wounds. Interesting. This unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge. So it can advance, shoot, it can fall back or advance and still shoot and charge. Again, this is a great unit already. I don't need to read what it can do, like equipment wise. It's gonna be a good unit because of the just the mobility that they're gonna have. Let's see. I just want to see how they can be equipped. 2 models can take a plant. What is their base loadout here, guys? What do we got? What do we got? Bolt gun, bolt pistol, accursed weapon. So they get all of this base. Jesus. Because the accursed weapon's not bad. It's 4 attacks, strength 5, neg 2. So they're going to be able to do damage to infantry, right? Can they take a chain fist? Nope, just a power fist. And that's another thing we were talking about too, is that because we don't know if like Marines or anybody else are getting free upgrades. That was a discussion we had had in right, right. We had talked about is I'm trying to think. You know, we don't know what points are going to be. Is everybody just going to have free upgrades? And I don't think that it's going to be able to be that way. I don't think you can just give every unit free upgrades and then just increase their points cost on the front end because there's certain weapons that you're just never going to see if you have the option, right? Like if it's you can take a chain fist or a power fist, you'll never see power fists because chain fists are just inherently better. If you can take a power fist or a thunder hammer, you're probably still never going to see power fists because thunder hammers have devastating wounds. So it's just one of those where I still think that maybe some things are going to be points. Like you have a power fist, but it's plus 5 points to take a chain fist or a thunder hammer type of thing. But I can't see the game just keeping free upgrades based on what I'm seeing, right? Because again, there'd be no reason to take certain weapons. Noise Marines, Blastmaster. I'm not digging into this. It's just 923. That's not what I wanted to see. If you guys want to, stop me. But I just wanted to kind of speed through as much of this as we can. T9 Venom Crawler. It does have 2 Excruciator cannons, so it does get 12 attacks total. And the only reason I know this is because somebody sent me this earlier. At the end of any phase, if one or more attacks made by this model that phase were destroyed one or more enemy units, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this model's weapons. So this is actually really cool. My only complaint about it is that it doesn't break it down by phase. So if I kill something with my melee weapons, I get to add 1 to the attacks characteristic of all my weapons because of how it's worded. And because there's technically 2 Excruciator cannons, right? I actually get 2 additional attacks then. And what do you mean there's 2 Excruciator cannons? Well, if you look right here, it says 2 Excruciator cannons. So you actually get 12 attacks, and then if you kill 1 model, it actually jumps to 14. I don't know that that was intentional. I'm not going to pretend like it was intentional or unintentional. I will tell you that there is a launch date FAQ and designer's commentary that should be coming out. So this may get addressed then. It's just one of those seems a little weird that it's worded in this way. Here's one cannon, but it could be intentional. Bikers, I'm sure they didn't change much. They're T5, 3 wound. Have they always been 3 wounds? Yeah, because the regular Marines were 2 wounds. There we go. Again, not digging into them. I can't imagine they've changed a ton. They move 12. They don't auto advance 6, it looks like, anymore, which that's fair. Raptors. And again, we're just flying through this. If you see something you want me to stop and focus on, just let me know. Havocs I did want to look at. Havocs are the bee's knees. They're T5. They are 2 wounds. They have 6 up leadership, 5-inch movement, so they're a little slow still. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack with a ranged weapon, you ignore any or all modifiers to the hit roll and any or all modifiers to the ballistic skill. So I was kind of curious how they were going to do that because they always counted as being stationary. This is also really good, right? So let's start with the Havoc autocannon. So you get 2 attacks, strength 9, neg 1, 3 damage. Like, that's spicy, man. Heavy bolter, sustained hits 1. 3 attacks, strength 5, so the heavy bolter didn't change. Havoc las cannon, 12, neg 3, d6 plus 1, pretty solid. Strength 12 is going to be, I think, like the new Melta, if that makes sense. Not that Meltas are going to be strength 12, but I think that strength 8, I think that's where strength 12 is going to be, or that, that strength 8 T8 interaction before the T9 stuff started coming out. But Havoc las cannon, Havoc missile launcher, yeah, that's cool. The Reaper chain cannon. So it's 8 attacks, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. So that really hasn't changed. It lost a pip of AP, but that's not the end of the world. Because of how cover interacts, it's not that bad. Because if you have a 3-up save, you cannot claim cover against a 0 AP weapon. So it's one of those where that's not the end of the world. It just means that like my orc boys will actually get to interact with it. Accursed weapons. Do they all have accursed weapons? Or is it just the sergeant? Probably just the sergeant. Yeah. Flavor. Any number. And you could still take as many as you want of these. So you could still take like 4 Reaper chain cannons. Not that I would do that. But I would do that. Blitties. Let's go. I love this model so much. They move 4 inches. Them boys is slow. But they are now T7. Which, not bad. I do enjoy that an Obliterator has a highest. So they have a higher toughness than Gaskell. Not that I'm salty about it, but they have a higher toughness than Gaskell. The biggest war boss ever, right? Uh, I'm a little salty. They've got flesh metal guns, so you get to choose your profile. Focused Malice gives you D3 shots, strength 12, neg 3, 4 damage. So those are melted 2, so you're going to add 2 damage within half range. Flesh metal guns are D6 shots, strength 8, neg 2, 2 damage. And then the Warp Hail is D6 plus 3, strength 5, neg 1, 1 damage. So all that stuff has AP, which is interesting. And only one of them is Blast. And then they've got Crushing Fists, which are strength 9. And I think the strength 9 is because like rhinos, right? Rhinos are T9, so it's just to get that wound them on 4s interaction. They don't. They don't. But he is the biggest boss, right? I'm just saying. Homeboy should probably be at least T7. I think he's the only thing I've seen so far that's actually gone down in toughness out of all the data sheets I've looked at. He's the only one I've seen that I can remember right now that's gone down in toughness from one edition to the other. When this unit makes a dark pack, if it does, ranged weapons have indirect fire. Yeah, that's it. So then, if you do a dark pack, you can actually ignore line of sight with these guys, which is pretty cool. Blitties are still good. Like, unless they're just a crazy expensive unit, they're still good. Chaos Land Raiders. I don't know that there's much we need to dig through here. Because this is all just tanks and stuff, I think, at this point. A Defiler. They're T10. Move 8 inches. Each time it makes a mortal advance. Oh, shit. So this scuttling walker is actually really cool. This guy can move over vehicles and monsters, friendly vehicles and monsters, as if they weren't there, and you can move over 4 inches of terrain, like 4 inches or shorter terrain, as if it was not there. That's actually really cool. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on him. Forge Fiends, just going to quickly glance. Strength 10, neg 3, 3 damage. So the plasma cannon actually just got better. It didn't do anything but get better. And then the Hades autocannon stayed about the same. And it is blast still, armored limbs. Yep, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, some of them you're not going to have to. Some of them you're just going to know, right? But yeah, you're going to be measuring stuff. But it is handy to know that, like, some of your bigger models aren't just going to get just move blocked out of being able to do anything. So it's one of those where pretty solid. Hellbrutes, Helldrakes. Can they hover? I'm just curious if they can hover. They can. This checks out. I think it's just terrain that you have to measure. Now I want to look. Yeah, over terrain features. So, so hear me out, right? As long as you could actually move over it, you could move over a great unclean one. Which is also just really funny. Obviously, it would have to be a friendly model, but just as an example of something that's kind of silly because of that interaction. That's right. That's right. They're just playing Twister, man. Like I don't care about let's see. Mauler Fiends. Nah, are these vehicles? Yeah, they are. I noticed the Disco Lord didn't have vehicle, it only had mounted. So I thought that was interesting. Chaos Spawn. At the start of each players, it just regains wounds. D6 plus 2, so it just gets a lot of attacks. So it lost its like randomized ability, which, alright, again, I think it's just because it's index and we're trying to speed things up. Lord of Skulls. I think we're about through everything that I wanted to get through. This is such a cool model. Alright, before we dig into that, I wanted to look at one other thing. Boop, 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 boop. Man, we've been at this for a while, so we're gonna speed through demons, but I wanted to look at one other thing. We're gonna grab one of these. I don't care which one. Okay, so they have their own army rule, and then they have their own detachment rule, and that's what I wanted to double check. All right, so we're gonna whip through some demons. There's not a lot I wanted to look at here, but there are a few things. I just wanted to see some of the bigger, like Great Unclean One, the Keeper Secret, stuff like that. Your deployment zone is always within your army's Shadow of Chaos at the start of any phase. If you control at least half the objective markers within No Man's Land. No Man's Land, okay. At the start of your phase, if you control... This is going to end up being its own special video. I am, dude. I be whipping them demons, son. So I don't know how to break it to you, but a lot of these have, like, grammatical errors and typos. It's a big shock. Like, hear me out. I think GW needs to hire an editor. again, just wanted to see some of the bigger stuff because I didn't realize how long we had already been on for. All right, Missy Smelliot, let's go. She moves, and just so everybody's aware, great unclean ones are always females, or at least referred to in that way in our play group because of the fact that like we name our models, right? And there's that also. Thank you, Tyler. And the first great unclean one in our play group got named Missy Smelliot. She moves 7 inches, T12, 5 up save, 20 wounds. God dang. And 5 OC. Plague Flail, 6 attacks, D6 plus 1, strength 7, neg 2, 2 damage. Yes, sir. Putrid Vomit, which is a flamer. Oh, cool. I will probably dig through those later. I did, just like I said, want to get through like the big stuff. I love the Keeper of Secrets and the Bloodthirster, so we'll look at that too. So she still gets to puke her little maggot putrescence all over things. Bioblade, 6 attacks. Ooh, extra attacks. Strength 6, neg 2, d6. So honestly, it looks like a lot of the melee didn't change a ton outside of getting like lethal hits, which is interesting. Doomsday Bell, lethal hits, reverberating summons. I'll have to see what that is. That's probably specific to this Secret of Keeper. That's right. Demon Lord of Nurgle. While friendly Nurgle, Demonica is within 6, so it gives out a feel no pain. What's up? Scarbrand is one of the cooler demon models, period, in my opinion, so I'm glad that he got better. Tyler, you're hurting my head. Stop doing that shit. At the end of your movement phase, you can select one enemy unit, subtract 1 from the... Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's... Has a 4-up invulnerable save. Interesting. 5 up. So all the demons look like they just went to the 5-up invuln. Maybe not, but like... Strength 5, neg 2, 2 damage, 4 attacks. So I feel like these actually got better, or maybe they stayed the same from 9th. How many can you take? Is it just 10? Oh, it's the Poxbringer. It's a character. I was thinking, I was looking at Plague Bearers. I was like, what the heck? That seems really good. Scrivener. No, no. Oh, you know what? Hey, you got this. Keeper of... Yeah! 14-inch movement. Let's go. T10. Woo! 5 plus save, 18 wounds. Living Whip. Is not a flamer when corn demons have a better yeah, right. Let's see. 5 up save, 18 wounds, 6 plus leadership, OC. The whip is 612, Phantasmagoria, which is Witchfire, has devastating wounds and psychic. 6 attacks, strength 6, neg 2, 1 damage. And then you can do 9 attacks, strength 6, neg 2, 1 damage, but it's hazardous. I don't know that it's worth it to do the hazardous for just 3 extra attacks. Again, I'd have to really read through everything to see if there's some sort of synergy that would allow me to do something there. Ritual Knife, you get 3 extra attacks at 622, solid. Snapping Claws, 4 extra attacks at 623. And then the Wit Stealer Sword, 823. So, unless there's something that increases strength here or interacts with vehicles, she gonna be rough into like a vehicle-heavy army. I'm a crab. She got a 5-up Feel No Pain with the Aegis. Oh. And she improves AP by 1. So actually all of this is neg 3 because she's within range of her own aura. Cute. So she either gets the whip, the knife, or the Aegis. Hmm. Survey says Aegis, in my opinion. I'll take that 5 up, feel no pain all dang day. All right, let's find. Did they keep the Bloodthirster just into 1? Yeah, let's go. Let's go. 4 up invuln. The Blood Flail gets 1 attack with devastating wounds, strength 16. Jesus. Uh, God dang, don't roll that critical wound roll, guys. And then the Hellfire Breath ignores cover, torrent, blah, 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 blah. Lash of Corn. And then you pick one profile, and I'm sure that's so many attacks. Good gravy. My Orc boys don't get a saving throw here. It's bullshit. He's too good. Dear Games and Workshop, please nerf demons. That's right. That's right. And then he makes himself and Corn Demons +1 to hit. Oh, look, more mortal wounds. Big shock there. What's that Thunder Chicken actually called? Lord of Change. There we go. I hate that we just like, I don't know the names for some of this stuff because we just have such stupid names for everything. He's got the Rod of Sorcery. I bet he does. Okay. Bolt of Change. Strength 9 +2. What year is it? Strength 9, neg 1, 1 damage, 9 attacks, and then it's strength 9, neg 2, d3 damage. So that's actually, that might be worth for your supercharge there. Okay, what does he do? +1 strength for ranged attacks. In your shooting phase, select one of the following abilities: ignores cover, lethal hits, sustained hits. Oh, kind of cool. Let's look at flamers real quick now that we're talking about it. So they move 9. T4, 3 wounds, 4 up invuln. Hey, no more 3+ saves. Ignores cover, psychic, and torrent, but it is only strength 4, neg 1. So, hey, that got toned down quite a bit. All right. And it can shoot and fall back. So they're still pretty solid, is what I'm seeing. The Exalted Flamer. I see. Strength 5 and neg 1. And because you can put the Exalted Flamer in the unit and put him by a Thunder Chicken, they'll get the Assault, they'll be able to advance, and then in your shooting phase, after you shot, select one, blah, blah, blah. So there's ways to kind of stack it to get some other buffs going on. All right, so before I close this out, is there anything else anybody wanted to check out real quick? Let me know. If not, we're gonna stop right here. It's my lunchtime. I don't know what time zone everybody out there is in. Fate Weaver. Let's look. No, let's look. Kairos Fate. We just looked at the regular Thunder Chicken. We didn't check the named one. So Kairos Fate Weaver. Movement 12, T10, 20 wounds. He a big chicken. The Infernal Gateway has Blast, Indirect Fire, and Psychic. That's good gravy. That's going to be a little rough. D6 +3 attacks, Strength 9, neg 2, D3. That's pretty good, especially with Blast. Like, that is going to chew through good gravy. Tyler, aren't you listening? The best gravy. And then you can supercharge it, right? Because that's kind of what happens when you take the hazardous. And what that does for you is increases the AP by 1. Wow. So good. You do get D3 +6 instead of D6 +3. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you have a higher floor for your shots, right? But you effectively have the same ceiling and you increase your AP by 1. But let's look and see what else he does. He does have the Staff of Tomorrow. One head looks forward. Each time you target a friendly Zinch within 6 inches. Okay. So you could. This is actually pretty cool. If you use a stratagem on a friendly Zinch, Legion. Words are tough. Legionis Demonica unit within 6 inches. Roll a d6. If it's greater than the current battle round, you gain a CP. So that's actually pretty good. You're actually right. Yes, you just have to roll a die and get higher than the current battle round. So if you do it battle round 1, you need a 2, 2 you need a 3, etc. One head looks back once per battle after your opponent uses a stratagem. If it does until the end of the battle, each time your opponent uses. Oh my gosh! So once per game, when your opponent uses a strat, you could be like, that costs 1 more CP from here on out. So again, that's a very good and powerful ability. So yeah, his supercharge might be a little lackluster, but one head looking forward and one head looking backward, pretty good. I don't know, because I haven't looked at those yet. I've not. I don't play NIDs, and they're disgusting. So I just don't look at them unless I have to. And I will find out about the lion for sure, because I'm sure Bailey and I will be talking about the lion at some point. We're actually meeting this evening so that we can stream and discuss Dark Angels. So if anybody's free, I'm not sure exactly what time, but he and I are going to be doing a live stream so we can look at his poopy power armor. All right. Anything else we need to look at? If not, we're going to call it so I can eat. Yeah, no problem. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Like I said, I did get a couple videos made already. They're on the YouTube channel. This will go directly to the YouTube channel as it is. And then maybe Thursday we're doing a stream game. Tyler, you let me know. And then definitely next Thursday we're doing a stream game of 10th edition. So we're going to start picking up our live stream games again. Thanks for joining us. I hope everybody had a great time. I appreciate everybody talking and hanging out with me. You guys have a great day.